Before we start this video, I want to say a huge thank you to 3 supporters who have already supported me on buymeacoffee.com, and they are Michael Reed, Carla Manuel, and someone. Yeah, that's their username. I'm not going to reveal the email username because, well, privacy. If you were wondering how you could support my channel, you can either buy templates or give small donations on buymeacoffee.com/thecraftmansion. Thank you for your support, and now let's get straight into today's video. Hello and welcome back to the Craft Mansion. Why did I do this? Hello and welcome back to the Craft Mansion. I'm David, and in today's video I'll be making boom 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 Jumanji, the board game from Jumanji the movie. Well, the original one. Although this is quite controversial, I do like the sequels. Come at me, bro. So my first idea for this prop was to just get a wine box and do the exterior and make it look like Jumanji. But the thing is that it was very difficult to find the right sized box, and when I landed on this huge ass wine box, I realized the wood was too thin, and if I was going to make Jumanji, I shouldn't fake it. And that's actually my second idea, and that is to make the box myself. Upon doing some research, I landed on this particular video on YouTube by Stephen Richter, and I'll leave the link down in the description below if you want to check it out. Mine won't be that good because I'm not an expert in woodworking, and speaking of wood, I need to go and buy some supplies. This is where I ran into my first hiccup. I made some miscalculations in the wood size. For example, I didn't need this whole piece of wood, I just needed strips. But from what I've bought, or from what I thought I had bought, I could still make the Jumanji board. But the thing is that this piece was advertised to be 1 centimeter thick. It's 0.8. And I couldn't work with these, so I just gave up, and I know a guy who has scrap pieces of wood, and he just cut me some wood with the right thicknesses. And from the other store I also bought some small hinges and some stain. Well, hello, this is voiceover David. Fair warning, there will be a lot of wood cutting in this video because it's a wooden board. This first strip is 1.4 centimeters thick and 7 centimeters wide. I cut 2 strips which were 40 centimeters long and another 2 30 centimeters long. I made 45-degree angled cuts on both ends of each strip. My table saw is only for shallow wood, it's very small, so I had to make these cuts in 2 and hope for the best. As expected, not all cuts were perfect, but they were all good enough. I spread wood glue on the edges and aligned all 4 pieces. To press them tightly together, I used this neat trick where I put 90-degree brackets at the corners and then tied a thin rope really tightly over the brackets and the wood. To hide the mistakes I had made, I filled in the gaps with some wood filler and then sanded away the excess. For the front and back, I used 3mm thin MDF wood and traced the shapes using the frame I had just built. For a good grip when using the glue, I removed the white layer from the MDF, then scratched it to make it rougher. I went ahead and glued both the front and the back. It's better to cut the MDF slightly bigger and then remove the excess once glued. The edges are not sharp in the original prop, so I rounded them out. The trickiest part was then cutting the whole thing in half. I clamped my table saw to the bench and carefully followed the center line of the box. The top was then split in half again to make the 2 doors. I brought back the 1.4 centimeters thick strip of wood and marked the length of the inside of these 2 doors. Once I cut it to measure, I split it in half as well. With hindsight, this cut shouldn't have been this long, but it still works. This template and all that follow will be available for purchase using the link below once the entire prop is finished. I removed the bits at the end with the table saw until I could fit a hacksaw and cut the first half manually. Once the table saw could fit in, I continued cutting the rest of the way with it. Then I refined the edge with my Dremel tool. I used a different bit to make the thin cut through the middle. The handles were cut into the wood itself. They are 1 cm away from the top and side edges, 1 cm thick, and 4 cm long. On the front I hollowed a 2 cm wide semi-sphere. Then I grabbed a 1 cm thick dowel, rounded and cut its end, and glued it in the middle of the sphere. Next up were the hinges of the doors. I had another strip of wood, 1 cm thick and 6 cm wide. First, I cut small strips, each 2 cm long, and then through the middle to make each about 3 cm wide. I made a total of 8 of these small blocks. I drilled a thin hole all the way through one end of the 2 cm edge, and then a slightly thicker hole about a third of the way through. The edges around the hole need to be rounded out, while only one is rounded on the other side. I paired them up and made sure to face the larger holes to the outside of each pair. Then I glued them on to their respective side. To make the pattern of the edges on the inside, I used cardstock. First, I traced the whole outline and then only the bottom triangles. These weren't traced on each other, but next to each other because I realized it's not that clear in the video. I cut the triangles strip and put glue at the back and then put it on the whole design. Finally, I cut the shape of the bottom design as well. On the doors, the triangles face inward, while on the bottom half of the board, the triangles should face outward. Again, it's better to have extra and then cut down. At the corners of the bottom half, there are some further designs with squares. On the doors, these squares are removed from the cardstock. Well, it turns out that I'll be using this box nonetheless, or rather parts of it. There's nice paneling, or there should be nice paneling over here, and my wood is just plain fake white. So I'm going to use some panels from this box since they are very thin and layer them at the bottom of the sides. I took the whole thing apart, hinges and panels. These should be the same size as the inside of the doors. Then I smoothened the surface for a fresh look. In each door there is a small compartment, so I split this thin panel into two, with the smaller part being 4.8 cm long. Now for every step I take to make one of these compartments, I do them twice, since there are two compartments. From the 1 cm thick strip of wood, I cut two parts 12 cm long, which is the width of the inside of the doors. One of the parts should then be cut down to 2.2 cm wide. So now we have a small strip 2.2 by 12 cm and the larger one 6 by 12 centimeters, which is the lid. There's a lot of measurements, I know, but if you follow along closely, I think you should be able to handle it. I found the lid too thick for my liking and cut it down to about 8 mm. Again, my saw isn't high enough, so some mistakes were made and a lot of filler was used. The lid is covered with leaves, which I made from cardstock. To copy the pattern, I drew over the lines to mark the cardstock underneath. I cut out the leaves, glued them onto the lid, glued on a small circle at the bottom, and cut off the excess. Then, I marked the distinction between each leaf and the inner vines of the leaves by making indentations. Moving on to the smaller strip, I hollowed the areas where the hinges would go, and did the same thing on the back of the lid. The screws that came with the hinges were too long for the thin lid, so I had to sand down 4 of the screws. Then, I made pilot holes for the screws and fit the hinges in place. I put glue on the side and kept the lid closed as a positional guide. From the 1 cm thick wood strip, I cut a part which was 3 cm long. I sanded it to the shape drawn on the front. Then I cut a panel 4.6 by 12 cm from the wine box wood. I glued both of these together and then cut it through the middle once dry. 1/2 goes to each compartment. This is where the magnets will go. In the right compartment, there are 4 holes for the Jumanji tokens, while in both compartments, there's one at the top. I put some glue into the holes, put the magnets in, and then put some more wood glue around them. Finally, I sealed them in with wood filler. I paired the lid's magnet hole with the opposing one and put them in as well. So now the lid stays closed even when upside down. Well, this is taking quite some time. It's already been 2 weeks since I've started this video, so I'm going to stop it right here for now. This is part 1, and then I can finish the project in the next video, so the video isn't too long, you know? If you have been liking this project so far, well, I have been, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with what you think I should do next. As I said previously, there are templates available in the link. The full template spec will be available when the second video comes out, so for now, wait a bit, please. For more content, you can always subscribe right here and ring the notification bell down below to stay updated. These are some more videos from my channel, and until next time, this is part of Jumanji. I'm David, and this is the Craft Mansion. I just hit this and made some noise. Oh my god.